There we go. Okay. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome again to another tasting event here tonight with Coastal Stone from Manly Spirits. Hope that you guys have had a good week. See a lot of familiar faces there or familiar names, I should say, in the list. Can't see most of your faces, but this is going to be a good one. We've got some great whiskies here to get through, and I'll start off like normal by introducing David Whitaker, who is the head distiller and co-founder at Coastal Stone. And he can tell you a little bit about himself, and we'll get this ball rolling. So over to you, David.
Thanks, Anton, and welcome everybody to a Thursday evening. There's worse things to do than to be tasting and drinking whiskey. So for those who I haven't met before or haven't heard of our distillery, so it's Manly Spirits Distillery, makes Coastal Stone whiskies. So we've been around since 2017. We're in the northern beaches of Sydney, just north of Manly and Brookvale, amongst many, many breweries. Someone might have been to the distillery or not, I'm not sure. So we've been laying down malt whiskey since we started in 2017. So we're a spirits business, so we have all the white stuff. We've got our gins, we've got botanical vodkas and liqueurs, and we've got RTDs. But the dark spirit side of things, which is Coastal Stone Whisky, which I'll talk a lot about, is our name. It's our persona. It's even got a different bottle, which I'll talk all about. But made. All right, what about it? Let me talk about it. So, grain to glass, which means we start from barley. We do the whole lot. Yep. We've got a brew house and etc. So I'm guessing a number of people here have been to a couple of distilleries. But our thing is we're making Aussie whiskey. Now, we are making single malt, so it's Scottish style. It's double pot distilled, made from 100% malted barley. So no, there is no question. My mum's Scottish, right? So, I love Scotch and spent a lot of time over there, and I love, single malts. So the inspiration was massive, but we are making malt whiskey the way the Scots make it. But it's an Aussie whiskey. And that's going to be a bit of a theme, though ironically we've got some Italian wine varietals, but don't hold me to that. So Aussie whiskey means, what does that to us? It's obviously made here. But using predominantly Australian barley is a key. We want to make that's not that unusual, but it's Aussie barley, and where we can, not exclusively, but where we can, and that's a lot, we use Australian X barrels. So when we start getting into nor'easter here, maybe we should pour some. Yep, pour some. Have you got nor'easter first?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. For those of you who haven't seen the chat, we'll go with nor'easter first, then explore, then Sangiovese, then Aglianico. How do you say that again for me? I know I've stuck that up.
Aglianico. I'm not Italian, but
I was close. And then the Multi-Feliciano will be the final one. I also forgot to say just before we get kicking in that at the culmination of the tasting, we will be doing a draw, giving away a bottle of nor'easter that we're about to try. So make sure you stick all the way through to the end to be in that. And there will be a code that we'll give out at the end, and also on the email with the recording of this. So you can all get 10% off to buy your favorite bottle or bottles. And if you're watching this in the future on recording, you can contact us directly, and we can still help you out with that, because we'd like to do that. So I'll hand you back over to Dave to talk about the nor'easter.
Thanks, Anton. So Aussie barrels. So we all know, or we should probably know, Starward whiskey, for example. Their thing, and I love the way they did it. They said, well, we're going to use Aussie red wine barrels. They're kind of almost exclusively that. We're a little bit in that camp, in that the backbone of a number of our whiskies, including, I'll talk about it in a sec, the nor'easter, is charred ex red wine, predominantly Shiraz out of the Barossa Valley, which I can talk a lot more about. But we want to be able to use barrels that are available here, right? Though I do love American oak ex-bourbon casks too. So we also import a load of ex-bourbon, your classical casks that whiskey is matured in as well. And Nor'easter is kind of, and I'll talk about it more, but it's kind of a blend of those two. But our thing, if we can, is to use Australian source barrels. There's actually these days, which is really nice, there's like first fill bourbons, if you want to call it that, or new American oak that's been through a distillery. So rather than that is available ex-Australian distilleries now. So we've just started to source our American oak barrels, which are kind of like ex-bourbon, from some Australian distilleries, which I really love. Carbon footprint, and it's reusing the ones that are locally made as the industry grows. So Australian barley, Australian barrels. Before I started this I better have a sip. Everyone had a sip? Yeah. This is our signature single malt, by the way. So our Nor'easter is kind of like our, let me just call it signature. I'll talk about it later. But the stills I designed, I'm an engineer by background, so I was able to do it, which was lovely. So I designed the stills and I got them made. So that's a big thing about Coastal Stone Whisky from Manny Spirits, is the stills aren't just off the shelf stills from, Nat Lua Tassie ones, or I don't know, Frilly or whoever it might be. They're ones that I've designed. The way they've been designed is to make a light, fine, malty new make spirit. What do I mean? That means it's got some extra reflux. So the way I talk about it is, Scottish whiskey, malt whiskey is 2 times distilled, Irish whiskey maybe 3 times distilled. The way I've designed the stills, and I'll talk a little bit about more of that in a second, they're kind of 2.5. Don't know the exact science, but it's, so what that's doing is it's making a lighter, finer. Another analogy I'd say is Japanese style, like a floral, fruity, lighter style new make. So that's what I was aiming to do. Drew inspiration from other people's distilleries. I remember going to Ardbeg. If anyone's ever been to Isla, oh my God, want to go back. It's the best, where all the peated stuff comes from. So going to Ardbeg Distillery, they've got a thing called a purifier on their still. So it returns, rather than stuff going to the condenser, it returns it back from the line arm into the pot. So I saw that and I thought, So on our stills, you've got the pot, the swan neck, and the line arm. Our line arm slope upwards. So anything that condenses in the line arm, rather than falling into the condenser, it rolls backwards into the still and has to be redistilled again. So long story short, it gives extra distillation, finer, maltier spirit. We do all our whiskies. The new make's pretty consistent for all our whiskies. We don't try and change it up. We change the barrel types up. So that's why I'm focusing on this. We do nice long fermentation, 5 days actually. And we do it what I would call warm. So we can temperature control our fermenters and hold them at 28 degrees. We use an ale yeast, which gives a lot of green apple estery flavor profile to it. And we use a distiller's yeast. So we use a combination of yeasts. It's the yeast that makes all the flavor. So we pay particular attention to that. If people want to ask questions, ask and I'll answer.
Oh, yeah, good point. Ask away, and both of us will monitor the chat. So maybe dates on the nose, citrus on the palate. Yeah. So if you've got tasting notes or things that you think about it, or if you like a particular element, please let us know. That's we encourage interactivity.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to. This is kind of a commonality for all the whiskies, but it's about us and how what's the backbone behind all the whiskies or the distillery character, and that comes to me from malt. How you ferment, what yeast you use and how you distill, right? So that's kind of a common backbone for them all. Yeah, it's yum. I mean, you can tell I'm a distiller because I could drink the stuff, the white dog kind of, it's like, oh, I could have a go at that. So, it needs oak, of course, to turn into whiskey, but it is nice and fine and malty. We do, spoiler alert, we do run a bit of peat. It's not on brand, but I love the stuff. So we've been running a bit in New Zealand, Gladfield, peated malt. So at some stage we will have some smoky expressions coming out just because I love the stuff.
I was going to say, after you mentioned Isla and Ardbeg and all that, was that in your plans? Because I'm a self-confessed Isla whiskey fan. Ardbeg was sort of one of the first whiskies that I tried as a much younger man that really grabbed me. So have you got, when you say, looking at that sort of profile, have you got a particular type of whiskey?
Yeah, that's interesting. I see peat or smoked in two ways. One is you add a little bit to give just lengthen a whiskey out and balance it where it fills a hole. Okay. So I think peat can have a really valuable use as a blend stock as such. Then there's the peat bombs, So, we get 50 ppm phenol, heavily peated. You take that new make is like bam, it's so there's the big peated stuff. I don't know where we'll go with this yet. We laid it down and these will be our limited expressions when we stick some peat out. But I think using the peat in some of our main products, could form a part of kind of just making them better whiskies as such. But today, no peat, guys, no peat. What else can I say? I think that's mostly it. Oh, okay. No, of course, we've only got to new make. Right, in Sydney, we're in you'd think it's humid here, but it's mostly dry. So what that means is what we've experienced is in our maturation in cask, our alcohol's climbing every year, roughly % a year. I hope I'm not teaching you to suck eggs, but in Scotland, they go down. They might start at 63. They end at 57, 55. If we start at 63, we found one recently ended up at 71. Oof. So what we did a number of years ago, and what we did actually with some wine casks, is we've lowered our fill ABV down to 60, even sometimes down to 58, depending on the cask. And that's because it's climbing, so we want to keep the average alcohol concentration in the barrel down somewhat. So the other thing that defines our whiskey is the climates, dry, coastal, maritime kind of conditions. That all the barrels are close to the ocean. We've got loaded at the distillery. We've got kind of some down the south coast of New South Wales. So they're all within cooey of the coast and the ocean. So I can't tell you scientifically, but that's part of the flavor profile you get.
Sure.
What do I miss there? Yeah, so ex-bourbon, charred one. We're kind of sticking the wine ones. We're not doing wet particularly, which means you haven't charred it. You just pour the wine out, clean it out, and put it in. We do a couple, but not really. We're getting recharred casks. Almost predominantly, and one source for consistency out of AP John. They're AP John casks. They're beautiful, big, thick American oak casks. But then having said that, we've done, and I'll talk now. I should get to Nor'easter. This has got some French oak cask matured whiskey in it. So I see French oak as a very, very interesting wood to mature. You get spicy, kind of spicy creaminess, and it takes longer to mature, but Nor'easter's got some French oak in it as well. We also, where we can get it, we do fortified, so sherries and ports, or peras and tawnies. So at some stage we've laid out a fair bit of sherry and a bit of port. We've even done a peated port. I was looking at the barrel today. So later on, we will do our more limited releases with some of those weird ones, and we'll probably do a fortified kind of normal expression as well. I think that pretty much. Any questions you think, Anton?
Yeah. So Mike has asked, how's the demand for ex wine casks tracking these days?
Oh, for the casks themselves?
Yeah, I presume so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's increasing as more distilleries come on board and are laying more whiskey down. Yeah, they used to be kind of given away to Bunnings, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Price has gone up. Yep. Generally, I mean, bourbon casks have gone up a lot actually. That's ex-American. The wine casks have gone up a bit. So yeah, the demand is increasing. But there's a lot of wineries in Australia. Tell you what, you can't get hold of. That's a fortified cask.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're rare as hen's teeth. They would cost you $1,000 a cask or more.
Oh
Thousand.
wow.
Because yeah.
Sorry. There you go.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, John, off the back of what you said just a few minutes ago, saying, he's saying, oh, will they release higher cask strengths? Do you think?
Will we?
Yeah, I presume he
Yep.
means yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we'll get to the. Well, it depends what he means by higher. So the Italian series, which we'll try in a while, they're the 52 kind of mark. So yeah, we'll do everything. Let's face it. Just give us time, right? So yeah, we'll do. I mean, our port cask in the Element series, which you may or may not have had, which were released 2 years ago, that's 58. You know, we're going to start doing some experimental rare drams, which are, you know, only 20, 50 bottles. I think we'll do loads of kind of different goes there. Where the whiskey speaks for itself, you know, if it's better at 62, then we'll bottle at 62.
I will just jump in on the back of that. We do have the port, the Pinot, Shiraz, and Sherry available on the website. We've still got at least one bottle of each of them still there. So if anyone off that is interested in trying any of them with that slightly higher ABV and whatnot, they are there as well. And yeah, cast an eye over them when you're having a look.
Yeah, we're not doing it tonight, but the port is a port bomb. It's like a real larky kind of style 100 litre. These are not tonight's one, but it's a real, you know, kind of fortified bomb, full of port, you know, that style if you love those. All right, so the Nor'easter, thanks. I've waffled on a lot about our whiskey.
Yep. We've just had a couple of people in literally the last 30 seconds drop in. So for those guys, Anthony and Amanda, Jason, we have just done the Nor'easter, which was the first of the tastings. So if you wanted to, you could pour yourself a little dram and have a
yeah. And I'll give it a quick, because I actually haven't talked about it as such, right? So those who've just joined, our Nor'easter. So we're balancing like a wine cask. So a wine cask, a big fruity kind of barrels, with the more gentle ex-bourbon. So, you know, we're toning down a big wine cask flavor with the ex-bourbon. So, and you get a lot more sweetness from those ex-bourbons as well. So it's adding sweetness, but you've got the fruits. I may have mentioned before, but this has got French oak matured whiskey in as well. So that French oak adds complexity and finish. So it's a marriage of wine cask, which is ex-Shiraz, American oak, ex-bourbon, and French oak matured, almost virgin actually. We used ex-wine Phoenix casks. Right, so, you know, it's got a nice fruitiness to it. It's stone fruits, green apple, pears, vanilla and honey. It's a bit creamy. You know, the one part of this whiskey which we're working on is the finish a little bit. So what we do with our whiskies, well, particularly these, I'm not sure if you can see it on a bottle, but we do vintages. I'm not sure if you can quite see that. Does that say 2020 on there somewhere?
I can't read it clear enough.
All right, don't worry, guys. This is 2023s.
I can't even.
You don't need to see it, but
no, I can't get it.
Right, we're 6 or 7 years in, but I'd be wrong to say that the whiskey won't develop as the years go on, along with the distillery. So what, you know, the cask, I think we'll mostly keep it on a path like that, but where we can, we'll tweak things to improve it. So every year we'll do it. It's like a vintage in wine. Like it's reflecting the fact that the wine's different, the wine casks are different. Anyway, there's a vintage to it. This is the 2023 ones. It's going to be close each year, but it's going to just meander to a certain path till it finally settles down. Oh, I should have also said that big casks. All right, Coastal Stone Whisky, big casks.
Yep. How big?
Big. 200, 225s, 300.
Okay.
The Nor'easter actually had some puncheons, some 500-litre casks in it. So the reason we've got a nice fine malty spirit is we can let the spirit speak. We don't need to, hide a rough spirit with a big barrel. But I like the big casks in that you've got just, to me, a lot better balance of the spirit quality to the extraction and maturation qualities. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Can I just ask before we move on from Nor'easter? Maybe you've got something to say about changing, or dare I say, upgrading the bottle from a 500 to a 700. And,
okay. I haven't. Yeah, I should talk about. Sorry. Yes. Thanks, Anton. So, if you're familiar with, 2 years ago, we launched with our 500ml bottle, which are really our limited releases. Okay. We decided for our really stuff that goes into retail, and we'll probably eventually end up with all our whiskey 700. We've just got a few of these around, so we'll need to release some for a while. But we decided that we needed to create more value to consumers, you guys. Okay, so if you've had our Nor'easter before, it used to be $99 in retail for the 500. We've upgraded to 700 and kept the price point the same.
That's amazing. And that's we've got both. We had the 500ml. We've now got, thankfully, the 700ml, and 100%, like David said, the same price. And that's an amazing thing that not many of your peers and contemporaries are doing.
Yeah, look, it's hard. We're not massive at all, but we're kind of on the bigger side of the craft distillery. So, but we want our whiskey to be drunk by more people because it's wonderful. So we've done things to kind of hold the price point down, and we'll do our blended Explore, which will take that further. Because these things cost $5, the sandstone stoppers. So we've now just gone to a wooden stopper that's the only change in packaging for the bigger ones. Thanks, Anton.
No worries at all.
Is that enough on that whiskey?
I think so. Let's move on to the Explore, which is the new kid off the block for you guys, isn't it?
Yep.
New kid on the block, not off the block.
Yeah, something like that's on a block here. So where am I? So Explore. Right. I'm proud of all our whiskies, but this one I'm particularly proud of because it's a 75-ish RRP whiskey. The amount of people who can afford to buy that dramatically increases, if you know what I mean, versus $150. And as you'll see in a second when we taste it, it's a cocktail. It's you can sip it all right, no question, but you can also put it into all your cocktails, right? So it's designed to be used for more. You might argue, you guys, this isn't your thing because you like the big single malts, but it has its place. A lighter style. If you've got some friends over, then they might not like a Larnaco cask, which is massive and big. You might give them a lighter style whiskey like this.
While you're opening that, I'll say that we got the little sampler before the Explore fully launched, and as just a very easy drinking whiskey, I did that exact same thing. Gave to someone who's not really a whiskey fan; they're more of a bourbon drinker. They liked it, and I've also made just highballs and a couple of whiskey sours with it. It works well. It's so I won't jump the gun here, but
no, that's right. Thanks, Anton. But it was deliberately it was put together with those things in mind. I'm repeating what you said, but to get people who aren't into big, chunky, peaty, whatever they might be, single malts. It's to draw people into whiskey and show how wonderful it is, right? God forbid the bourbon drinkers too, I suppose. But there's a load of bourbon drinkers. You guys might be bourbon drinkers too.
Charles.
That's all right. But it's to make it fundamentally, it's to make it more accessible so that more people can afford it. Right, to do that, it's if you know your whiskeys, a blended whiskey is a malt whiskey plus a grain whiskey. So this is high malts. It's 40% malt component, like the Nor'easter. So that's quite high compared to a lot of global blends. So it's got a lot of malt in it, and it's 60% grain whiskey. Let's have a little sip. That's quite fruity on the nose, isn't it? Yeah. Tropical fruits. Honeysuckle, yes. A bit of spice, yeah. It's gentle. This one doesn't hit you between the eyes. It just, tell you what, the first night we launched it, I think the bottle, I mean, you guys would be familiar with this, but I think the bottle was down quite quickly. Easy to drink.
Yeah, like we avoid using the word smooth here because it's not. It doesn't really describe it that well. You can say water's smooth, but it is. Yeah. It is just so. I don't. Easy drinking is probably.
It is. It's an easy drinking whiskey. Right. I should talk a little bit about the grain component. So, like most blends all over the world, by the way, most distilleries source their grain component. So we don't, we source the grain components from a distillery in New South Wales, but we mature it all ourselves. So we, full maturation. So the grain whiskey has been matured in American oak, actually, almost exclusively ex-bourbon. So what the grain whiskey does is it draws out all this beautiful character from those American oak barrels. So you're getting lovely, lovely extraction with the grain whiskey from the American oak. The malt whiskey is, so the 40%, if that made sense, is wine cask and bourbon cask. So it's got a similar kind of backbone in the malt to Nor'easter, but it's got a lot more American oak and grain to lengthen it right out. We do some special things, and we're still working on it to give it more length. Just some stuff that we blend into it. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. $75 for a great, light Aussie dram, and hopefully people, more people will drink it.
So you guys out there, smelling and trying this one now. We don't and haven't featured a hell of a lot of blends in these tasting classes across the journey. And I know there's a few of you here who've done multiple of them. A couple of you, I think, have been on every single one. What do you guys think? Is it something?
I'd love to know.
Yeah, is it something that you guys could see yourself making a cocktail or a mixer with? Is it just, what do you think of it in its own right? Be very interested to see your feedback.
Let's see, and don't be shy. I can't see the chat.
I can. Mike, who is saying it's actually terrific just by itself, to be honest, which, yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't see anyone else just at the moment, but if anyone comes back with anything, I'll let you know.
That's cool. So yeah, I'm proud of it. It's got complexity too. Anyway, that's what it is. It's our explore. Bit of a forget the pun. Sorry, forgive the pun. Explore is two things. One is, if you look Nor'easter, we kind of got this maritime direction of the compass points. You'll start to see in the names of our whiskey, all about winds and ocean. So that's kind of a naming thing. But explore, as well as being a maritime thing, is about exploring the world of whiskey. So what we want to do is get more people drinking great Australian, particularly from my perspective, but that's okay, malt whiskey. So this is definitely put together to drag people in to whiskey, which is such wonderful stuff.
So Mike's saying it'd be good in an old fashioned, which I agree with. And Jason says that he enjoys it very mellow, would agree that it's nice by itself. In a cocktail, it would wonder if it might be overpowered by other components, like bitters, for example, in an old fashioned. I have to admit, I haven't made an old fashioned with it,
but yeah, it depends. Like a good old highball with soda, it depends. Some cocktails have a lot more, adjuncts, whatever you call them. But if you go to a bar and the like, then they'll tend to put either the bourbon is their standard or a blend. So it's there to be used in bars. They won't use expensive whiskies. They won't pay that much, and it's a bit of a shame. But it'll have its place. I'm proud of it. So it's for a certain target market. Yep, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I think we might do a couple of cocktail. Well, I'm not going to call it a trial, but make a little couple of social media content featuring a couple of these. So we might give the highball a crack, and we'll put it out there and encourage everyone to give it a shot themselves, because I'm pretty confident that will that'll be pretty good.
Yep, excellent. Yeah, I like that Jan and Chris there. Yeah, I mean, interestingly, you guys, well, I'm guessing you're like whiskey aficionados. So, your style will be big kind of flavors and unusual casts, etc. So it's not targeted at you, okay? But I think it's great as part of understanding whiskey and the kind of what you can do to taste it. And as I said, rather than giving someone Lefroy 10 who's never drunk whiskey before, they'll never drink it again if you give them that. You know what I mean? You think it's lovely. They'll knock their head off. Give them something that they're going to like. They may get to, Lefroy in the end.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good introductory sort of thing.
Yeah.
Transitional whiskey. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. So we now go to our Italian series. So you should have 3 drams there. I'll tell you the story of these.
Starting with the Sangiovese, yeah?
Yes, I'll first give a story of the whole lot of them because they've got a commonality.
Sure.
The commonality is that the winemaker, there's a winery in Griffith called Minnow & Co. And the winemaker, when Vanessa and I used to run the bar all weekend early on, he turned up and he was with his girlfriend at the time, is now his wife, and we got to know him. And he told us that, he was his forebears were Sicilian, and so they love making Italian red wines in Griffith, right? That's their thing, right? So they do Montepulciano, Sangiovese, Alanico. That's what these. So in talking to him, I thought, I haven't heard of those as kind of wine expressions that were the whiskey matured in. So I thought, let's give it a go. So he sold us about 10 hogsheads, 300-litre casks, and we sent them to Andrew Young Cooperage in Seppeltsfield, who's an artisan cooper in South Australia. He took the heads off, charred them, returned them to us. We put our whiskey in. So they sat in the distillery on the top of our stacks. If anyone happened to have been there, a lot of barrel stacks in the front area. So they were up there in quite a high spot. That's where they matured, near the stills. So they had a lot of heating and cooling and the like. So what these 3 whiskies, they've got our spirit, but they're showcasing how a wine varietal can affect the flavor of the whiskey. So it's the same spirit, filled on the same day, same size casks, all American oak. I think from memory, might be wrong. There may be some Sangiovese and some French, and they're filled at the same ABV. So as we go through them, what you're tasting in differences is all about the cask and the type of wine that was in there.
That's really interesting. Like being almost an experiment as much as released with that exact commonality of the core. That's cool. I'm extra looking forward to it now.
And that's, I mean, I'm learning as much as a lot of people, you know what I mean? We've been doing it for 6 or 7 years, so that it just enabled to isolate the cask. All right, so we're going to do, was it Sangiovese first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me find Sangiovese. Okay, so let me pop that little thing, take the sandstone off. If you haven't seen, this is in our kind of more limited expressions, but we incorporate a real piece of sandstone. This is literally Sydney sandstone. We get it cut at a local, what do you call it? Stone mason. They water cut the discs. Then they get incorporated into a wooden cork stopper. So this is my wife and her over delivering on on packaging. But it's Sydney sandstone. You can see the riff, the sedimentary stuff. Anyway, blah blah. These are a little hard to pour if you have one. You have to like this. So whoops. You're not pouring, but so I'll start with Sangiovese. So these are all bottled around the 52 mark. The Sangiovese 52.3. They're essentially, this is bottle number 17 of 750, and it's essentially single cask. It's 2, but if you want to think of it, this is very much showcasing just a single cask. They're all like that, whether it's 1 or 2, semantics. It's really an individuality.
Jason's just asked a minute ago, can you provide any insight into the malts used for these? Do you build the malt bill the same way to ensure the expression through the wine cask?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I'm not sure if you were here when I was talking about it earlier, but no, we, apart from the only proviso, occasionally we run a bit of peat, which I'm not supposed to do, but I love it. Other than that, no, we use predominantly an ale malt. So we've used Cooper's ale malt or Barrett Burston ale malt. So an ale malt is a slightly kilned beer malt, really. They're beer malts, high flavor beer malts. We're not changing that. So day to day, we're just mashing, fermenting the same malts. So do you build the malt bill the same way to ensure expression? We do. And if you didn't hear me earlier, the way we ferment and distill, we're making a lighter, finer, maltier spirit. That's okay. No worries. Yep. That doesn't need kind of a big cask to hide it, or it doesn't need a long time for the bad congeners to vaporize away. And we like the spirit to actually showcase through, if that answers your question. So let's have a go at this one. So these are so I say floral citrus, a bit of cinnamon spice, some stone fruits, apricot and peach on the nose. Have a little sip. What do we say? Creamy, buttery bodies, spices of cinnamon, licorice, mint. There's a bit of spice to it. I think Sangiovese does use some French oak, so there's definite spice there. Yeah, we say the finish, sweet tannins with a smooth cinnamon spice finish.
Tannins is right on, and I also get a back of the mouth warmth as it's going down.
Right.
But that heat sort of comes through on that. It's lovely.
And what's interesting, if you guys drink wine, maybe you do, probably do, then it'd be interesting to kind of have your Sangiovese wine there, or you can get all these 3 wines, Atlanico, Montepulciano, kind of see if you can compare, see how that wine character has transferred through to the whiskey. But yeah, it's, but what I love, and this is maybe Jason's question, is there's still a commonality of the spirit, like the malty lighter spirit is still shining through, even amongst the cask. They're about 4 years old, by the way. 4.
Okay, cool.
If you want to know that. Angel share high. We lose heaps. So I think they'd lost about the big cask, 300 litres. From memory, I think we'd lost about a quarter of a cask in the 4 years. So we lose a lot. Lots of evaporation. American oak, hogsheads. Yeah, there you go. So really, I'd keep it there. And then let's move on to Alanico. And then you can do some comparisons side by side. It's hard when people aren't speaking, not giving me feedback, but I'm sure they're all there, all riveted.
Oh no, they're all right.
Yeah.
Jason's just said, do you lose regarding angel share? I guess, do you lose more because of the smaller cask size?
You lose. Yep, you lose. Oh, absolutely. The smaller casks, the more these are the drivers. Small casks lose more than a bigger cask. Yep, absolutely. That's the first driver. The second driver is the climate. So, like if you're in a cool cellar where the temperature is just kind of wandering 1 degree or 2, you get a low angel share. But if you're in like the distillery where the stills are heating up in the morning, cooling down at night, then that big temperature change gives a lot. You get more angel share. So it makes sense. 2 drivers, but you're right. Smaller casks lose a lot more than the bigger. Okay. So now we've got the Alanico. So let's have a little. So it's kind of, I get it a bit deeper and richer. We say it's got let's have a taste of fruity and creamy body with spiced plums, fig, raspberry, and burnt butter. Creamy, yeah. Savory soft tannins topped off with honeyed nuts, creme brulee characteristics. Yum. So, it's subtly different from the Sangiovese. Same spirit, but you get different kind of notes popping out due to the cask.
Definitely.
We do. It's interesting when you ask the 3 next to each other who likes what. It's interesting. I'm not sure if you guys vote, but they're just different. But bartenders often like this one. Yeah, Alanico.
At the end, after we've had them, we'll definitely ask for people's favourites, both of the Italian Lux Trio and in general, and see how it is. For me, just not having tasted any of these 3 at all, my gut instantly is telling me that I'm actually preferring the Sangiovese a little bit. But I will keep on going back and compare the pair or the trio.
Yep. I mean, I love these ones because, we've second filled them. We've filled them up again, but I'm not sure we'll ever make the same whiskey. Well, not really. I haven't, we haven't got more first fills. They're kind of one of a kinds. They're experiments. And they teach me about cask maturation and I've got to learn about wine casks. We're using, as I said, Nor'easter has Shiraz, Barossa Valley, AP John cask. We're trying to keep that constant because we want Nor'easter to be the signature, to be more consistent.
100%.
But having said that, the limited ones, we want to show variation. So these are showing me kind of how a wine or cask can, particularly wine, wine casks are interesting, aren't they? They're less understood, I would have thought, than classical bourbon casks. Yeah. Let me have another sip.
While we're tasting this one, you mentioned before about the sandstone on the cork, I guess, of the bottle and all the rest of it. What about the texture pattern on the actual bottle itself? It's quite
Yeah, okay.
noticeable visually and also texturally in the hand. How'd
Yeah.
that come about?
It came about, it's on the 500 ml bottle. It's on both of them. In fact, it's the same. Sorry, if you're a bit geeky, the bottle's identical. So we're all a bit geeky. The 700 just has this cylindrical section put on the top. If you're really geeky, it's the same patterning on the bottom.
Sure, it's good. It's
You know what I love, I'm honest here, about having your own business is you can do what the bloody hell you like, right? You pay the penalty for your choices, but I just said, why don't we just make it tall? And that's what we're going to do. So, we just sketched it up and got it redesigned and new molds made, and that's what we did. But to answer your question, it's kind of the thing behind it. It's ethos. It's like an eroding sandstone cliff. So it's very organic. It's not a consistent patterning here. It's natural. If you've been to Sydney, if you know it at all, or any kind of environment or coast where the wind and the water bashes the rocks, so it's the way stone erodes. What Vanessa's saying with this is that, whiskey takes time to age and mature. You need that kind of interaction with nature. That's kind of the genesis behind it. But more than that, it's contemporary. It's different. It looks great. We've shown a lot of glass here to make it look good on a shelf. It's funky. It's different. It's not just a blooming, conventional straight up whiskey bottle with a, kind of a swan neck. Yeah. So why not contemporary whiskey? So give a contemporary bottle, which speaks to the kind of the area it's being matured, which is by the sea, by the coast, in Australia.
Awesome.
Thanks for the question.
No drama.
Yep. So that's the nor'easter. So the third of the Italian series is the Montepulciano. I love it. Yeah, we've got our brand ambassador's Italian, so he can really say it well. Montepulciano. Great. Italy's gorgeous. If anyone's been lucky enough to travel there, like the Amalfi Coast or Rome or Florence, it's gorgeous. And we've got so many. Melbourne. I'm from Melbourne originally, but Greeks and Italians. There's so our coffee culture. Now even wine. All these things are because of Italian immigrants. So I've got a big soft spot, as well as the country being beautiful, people lovely. I think that there's a strong mesh with the Australian culture, these days. Anyway, I'm waffling, but that's okay. So this is Monty, if you want Montepulciano. As a total aside, we're lucky enough as our production manager to have a guy working for us who's an ex-winemaker. I think winemakers are wonderful, for whiskey particularly because of barrels and their skills. So Dave Richards he's our production manager, but he used to work for Robert Oatley Wines and a lot of other wineries as well. But he brings so much to the table, because he kind of knows fermentation. Distillation is the only bit that he's learning, but maturation and marrying of casks at the back end, he's wonderful. And the best thing is that he's got an amazing palate, and he can construct whiskies really well. So Dave's great. Forgotten why I brought him up, but I'm really happy to have him on the team. He's also great operations manager too. Actually, Anton, you could maybe, I'm not sure if there's any other ops managers here, but it's a thankless task.
You get little credit, but everything's your fault.
Yeah, this bottle, there's something wrong with bottle number 1,256 out of 1 million. Why is that one bad? It's like, far out. What about the other 999,999? Anyway, but in all seriousness, though, actually, winemaking skills to me are congruent with whiskey making skills. So I'm happy to have actually our head distiller. I call myself the head distiller. I don't know what the word is. I control the whole program and how the spirit's made, etc. But I don't distill, so we've got a team of distillers. But our head distiller is another winemaker too. So I think it's important, the skills. All right, so back to this. So this is Montepulciano. There's Rob's trying to say something, maybe.
I think Rob's audio just kicked in.
Rob's audio, if he wants, that's all right. When you if we go to like Whiskey Lives and the like, do we give you these ones, Anton?
I think we have got some of them for these Italian Lux ones. Yep.
I mean, all of our expressions, we create these tasting cards, where we pick out flavor notes and give a nose, mouthfeel, finish, etc. But they're, if we don't, we'll make sure you get them so you can send them out, because they're very useful references for when you're tasting.
I know Paige gave us some definitely for these three. And we'll send them out, obviously. And if you have any other stuff, of course.
Just pretty much all our expressions too. Yeah.
Well, before we get stuck into talking heavily about the Montepulciano, John's just asked, do you anticipate potential dramatic weather patterns or changes to vastly affect the maturation of your whiskey? And if so, how?
Whoa, that's a
pretty big question.
Probably yes. I guess a year goes by, and it depends on the average climatic conditions of a year. I'm just trying to answer your question. So the hotter it gets, the drier it gets, no question will affect the maturation. I can't give you science on how, but absolutely. You get higher angel. Generally, what's going to happen with this as it gets hotter, we'll get higher angel share and drier. Which, by the way, in my view, means you get a faster maturation with those conditions. Couldn't tell you good, bad, or indifferent, but it will change for sure.
Yeah,
good question though. That's a very philosophical question and dramatic. Yeah. But climate does change. I think. Look, in our lifetimes, will we see the effects? Possibly, but certainly as the years go by, completely. All right, Montepulciano. This one, from memory, is creamy. Milk chocolate. Let's have a little try. Yeah, what do we say? Bright forest fruits of cherry, wild cherry, and boysenberry with floral notes on the nose. The palate, a body of milk chocolate, sweet custard, lemon curd, plums, and black fruits. Beautiful. Finish, and this is fairly common with all of them, slightly drying tannins and smooth chocolate custard cream. It's quite a creamy. If you go out and get a bottle of Montepulciano wine, actually, and you'll see they're kind of luscious wines.
So this is extremely creamy on the palate.
Yeah. Kind of, if you were giving people newer to whiskey, they'd probably more go to this one because of that creaminess. But so, I mean, if you look at them, I'm just going to repeat myself, but they're filled at the same time, on the same stills, same ABV at fill, matured in the same spot. decanted on the same day. So you can rule out all the effects of variations in those. The differences is all about the cask.
Yeah, that's an amazing difference across those three. And just to confirm for everyone out there, they're all 51 to 52%.
They're around the 52. Yeah, 50, like the Monty is 51.7. You know, they're around 52. Yeah, but plus or minus. The
52,
Atlantico
52,
52.6.
Yeah.
And the 52.3 Sangiovese. So we didn't force them into a hole, if you know what I mean. We just kind of what we felt was a nice ABV for bottling.
Yep. No, well, Mike just said that hands down the Montepulciano is the best for him. Absolutely brilliant. And I've just said I have to agree. That was without going back to the well, that's definitely the one that I'm.
It's the creamiest, kind of most luscious of the 3 drams. So you know, those ones compared, like the Explore next to those is quite mild and light. So Explore is not meant to be. These are the other extreme. These are kind of higher ABV, you know, much more cask forward, single cask expressions. You know, age too. These are 4 years old. You know, as we get older, we'll see what happens when they turn into 8 years, and second fills. Oh, that's one thing I'll talk about. First and second fills. Second fills, I think, for us anyway, will make beautiful whiskies. They're going to take longer, but they're going to be kind of less. The cask will go to the background a little bit more, and we'll get more of our spirit coming through. So talk to me in 8 years or something like that, and we'll taste some of our second fill casks. Pretty much at the moment, all our whiskies are first fill casks.
Sure.
But I think the second fills in the end will kind of balance first, second, you know, combination. We don't know they do all this stuff, by the way. Well, maybe you guys do, but it's the marrying of the different cask sizes. Well, mostly first, second, thirds will have a bearing on the whiskey over time.
Sure. Just reading the comments, we've got a bit of a mix, which is what you want to see. So
yep.
A few of us won the Montepulciano, the Aglianico for Jan and Chris. Mark's going with the Sangiovese. Is there anyone out there who hasn't commented? Just tell us what your favorite has been, both of the Italian trio, or if you happen to prefer, let's say the Nor'easter, let us know that. But yeah, all 3 of these. So who said that? Jan and Chris, all 3 great expressions. I think we probably all can agree on that.
Thanks. So,
Anthony Amanda the Monty.
Yeah, that's a fairly consistent kind of cross section. We tend to find often people like one of the 3 of them. What's a favorite? It's hard. It flips. I'm not sure I'll answer that question in a second. Yeah, anyway. Mike has asked, it's not done, nothing's done, by the way. Would you reach for a second fill? No, I think. Not us anyway. I think there's still enough cask character in from the first char and the first fill that you don't need to. That's us. That's me, by the way. That's because I want to dial down the cask and up the spirit. Third fill, like they do deplete. So ask me in another 5 years, I'll tell you. But I think as the casks get older and older, then there's a place for recharring for sure.
With these Italian Lux Trio having approximately 600 bottles come out from that consistent root spirit, is there a second generation of these, or maybe even different cask types that we might see in the future, or is this sort of been a one-off and when they're gone, they're gone?
The first fills are at the moment one-off. When they're gone, they're gone. The second, as I said, we've filled them again. Second fills. So I'd say in about 6 years' time, the second fills will come out, but they'll be different from the first fills. No, we haven't filled any other of these, but we have, in terms of other varietals. Yeah, we've done some. We've recently, last year, we filled a load of Western Australian Chardonnay, which will be quite interesting. Whites. I think Sullivan's Cove. Who's done Chardonnay? Anyone tasted a Chardonnay cask? I think I've had a Sullivan's Cove one. Maybe Brookies have done one. I can't remember, but Byron, yeah, I think Brookies did. We have in the fortified space we've mucked around. We've done different types of Apera and different types of tawny port as well, with different char levels. So those ones I haven't tasted them for a fair old while, in years actually, but we'll have all this comparison of different types of fortifieds that'll come through as well. And we have laid down different wine varietals, so they'll come through too.
Awesome.
I say a lot of words, sorry. Probably say too many. Apologies.
No, not at all, mate. Not at all. You're fine.
So there's the Italian series. I'm glad you like them. I love the big flavors of them, but the commonality, but the differences you can see. So yeah, happy about those. So tonight you tried our Nor'easter, which is our signature single malt, and you've tried our blended whiskey, which is to kind of get whiskey out there to more people. Yeah. So pretty much that's it.
I think that for those of you out there who may have not been familiar with Coastal Stone or even Manly Spirits before tonight, we've been given a great amount of information, not only about you and your process, but about these fantastic whiskies, especially these last three that have been particularly enjoyable. Before we get to the finishing touches and drawing some winners and stuff like that, is there anyone who has any final questions? Maybe like to come off mute to ask anything or say anything. Now's the chance. Doesn't look like it. So what I will do now is I will post in the chat, and you will all get this in an email tomorrow anyway. It's a very easy code to remember. I'm going to put the code just here, which is Coastal10. That will get you 10% off any and all Coastal Stone products for, I think it goes through till Sunday, so you don't have to do it tomorrow. And so if you've found something today that you particularly like, grab it and get 10% off for that. And also someone is about to win a bottle of Nor'easter. So if I am looking at the participants, we have 13 of us. David and myself are not eligible. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug 1 through 11 in Google number generator, as I have done before. Press go and get that. So that, oh, come on, show the screen. How do I get it to show the screen? Let me turn the background off for just a sec, just in case. How do I turn it off? I don't even know. Does that help? Yeah, okay, maybe that helps. No, that's cat counting as a background. Jesus. Oh, I don't know if you can see that there, but there's number 7.
We can't, but we'd believe you. Yeah.
Yeah, can you see 7?
Yeah.
7, 1 to 11 or 7. So as I go down, Mike, Brian, Derek, congratulations. You're getting a bottle of Nor'easter, which we will,
well done, Derek.
I will contact you directly, but we will send that out for you tomorrow. If you do choose to purchase any of the other bottles, we'll combine that in with it, obviously. For everyone else, thank you so much for joining us tonight and tasting these great whiskies, and for your engagement and feedback on the chat. It's been great. And most of all, to David for giving us so much information and making some delicious whiskies and spending your time with us here this evening. We very much appreciate that. For any of you who might be watching this in the future on the YouTube, if you are watching this and tasting your packs and hopefully enjoying them just as much as we did live, and you would like to grab a bottle, you can contact us via the website, and I'll help you out with that 10% code, which by then will most likely be being expired. And apart from that, yeah, there'll be more tastings coming up soon. Stay tuned, and we will continue to stock and support Coastal Stone and Manly Spirits with new stuff as it comes available. So keep an eye on the website, newsletters, social media, and all that sort of thing. While you're on social media, if you're not already following us, follow Manly Spirits Coastal Stone as well. Find out what they're up to and keep in touch with their new releases and things that might come up. And Dave, is there anything more that you'd like to say?
No, just thanks all for listening to me waffle on, but I do it so that you really do understand how we've created our whiskeys. So thanks for listening, and thanks for tasting, and thanks for the lovely comments. But yeah, keep having your drams, and hope to speak and meet you all in person maybe. Cheers.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Hope to see you at a show somewhere down the track. I'm going to cancel the recording now. Thank you again, everybody, and have a safe rest of your week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye for now.